Welcome to the Elliott Alert. My guest today is Mr. Jihad Muhammad from the Nation of Islam. He's a community activist here in our city of Pine Bluff and in Jefferson County. Welcome, Mr. Muhammad.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you for your invitation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, I know that you're a community activist in our community and you have done a lot of things, but before we get into that, what I want you to do is tell people a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised here in Pine Bluff, of course.
Okay.
My name has not always been Jihad Muhammad. When I was 14, I caught a murder charge in this city.
Wow.
And when I turned 15, I was actually sentenced to 35 years in the Arkansas Department of Correction for that murder. I wound up going to prison for 12 years, a little better than 12 years. But during the sojourn of my prison stay, I came in contact with Muslims in the Nation of Islam, and they inspired me to join the nation. And from there, my journey through prison and achieving some of the things that I achieved in prison, as a counselor, as a president of the Junior Chambers of Commerce, as a mentor in the prison, and then starting different organizations in the prison. And all of that grew out of my inspiration and my coming into the Nation of Islam. And so I was released several years ago, and I had the opportunity to parole to different cities. And I wanted to come here to work and to try to atone, for the crimes that I did in this city, and to try to make the city, especially as it relates to black people, just a little bit better.
Now, you see the direction that our county, our city is going in reference to youth crimes and some of the things that are happening, because you're deeply rooted in the community. You see the kids.
Yes, sir.
You've mentored kids. Can you tell me how, I guess for lack of a better word, what in your experience is similar to what's happening now to our youth?
Well, I would say that, growing up, my father was killed at a very young age when I was 8 years old. And I came up in a family with 3 older brothers and a sister. The same year that my father was killed, my oldest brother went to prison. My brother next to him went to reform school. All of us became gangster disciples. So my father was taken out of the picture. My mother, even though they weren't together during the time that he was murdered, she went into a state of depression. And in order to relieve herself of that, she got involved in gambling at the bingo hall. So it gave me and my brothers a lot of opportunity to get involved in stuff that we shouldn't have been involved in. And of course, at that time, there was no man around, or no male figure around to really help us understand what we was going through and to really guide us. And I see the same thing today. You have a lot of females, a lot of women who have children. And those children have went through experiences that have literally changed their lives.
Right.
And there's nobody there to mentor them. There's nobody there to guide them and to give them an understanding of what they're going through and to help them.
Right.
And I see that same thing going on in the city. A lot of us have big titles,
Right.
but we're doing very little in terms of helping the little people who don't have anything, who are already been marked for prison, incarceration in the early grades. So I think we're in the same position. A lot of people talk about crime, the crime rate now, but when we go back 20 years ago, we go back to 92, 93, 94, we had a high crime rate. Young people were still were getting involved in crack cocaine, and young people were killing people. So we have the same problem. Multiplied with young black people now getting involved in methamphetamine and just really going to a high level. We have the same problems. And we don't have people who are providing solutions that we know will work. And so if you look at the juvenile center, some of us go down there, we talk to children, and we give them some hope, but then when we leave, when those children leave at the juvenile center, what are they going back to? Who's there to mentor them, to help them deal with what they ever had to deal with when they go home? And if we're not able to provide a solution that encompasses that, then whatever we're doing is very limited.
So what you're saying is, for lack of a better word, we have been putting a Band-Aid on an open wound,
Exactly.
wanting it to heal.
Exactly. Exactly.
Applying no medicine on it to heal it, but just putting a Band-Aid on it. Because if what you're saying is correct, if you go back 20 years and look at the crime statistics and it has gotten no better, then how are we using our tax dollars to provide for the future of our community?
And I think, you take example, if you look back here behind the college and what's referred to as the backwoods area, that area was real high in crime because of the drugs that came in. 20 years later, there's not just that much drug dealing back there. Community very loud, but those who were involved in drugs, a lot of those people have quit using, they got themselves together. I see people all the time who was either using drugs or selling drugs. They seem to have it together now. But those youth that came under them, prior to they got it together, they're the ones, the mantle of selling drugs, the mantle of prostitution, the mantle of the vices that keep us going to early grave into juvenile centers in prison were passed on to them. So nobody has been there to clean that up. So even though you don't have the drug houses in that part of the community like you used to have, or to the extent, they have just moved to different parts of the city. So the city's solution has been to attack certain areas or certain communities, and then those people in those communities, they don't leave the city, they actually migrate and move other places. So it really is really not solving the problem.
Right. It doesn't address the issue. Once again, it just pacifies it and moves the issue even forward even more. Now, you mentioned something that's near and dear to my heart. You're saying that when you say people with titles, you're talking about the leaders in our community.
The leadership, the traditional leadership, in terms of those who have been looked up to. And when you talk about, pastors, politicians, businessmen, these are the people that's looked up to. In many cases, not in all cases, but in many cases, there is a disconnect between what's going on in the ghetto or what's going on in the hood and those individuals. I talk to people all the time. I was going to the prison and going into the prison during the time I was allowed to go into the prison. I was working with a man by the name of Dr. Charles Chastain, one of the leading law professors in the country. And after he heard what I had to say and how I dealt with the inmates, he said to me, he said, "You all understand the problem better than we, who are college professors who run the criminal justice system." Well, they know that there are people in the community with a solution.
Right, and I understand that. We're going to have to go on break, but when we come back, I want you to expound a little bit more better on Dr. Charles, who you were saying. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Sunflower Wilson, a recent graduate with a degree in fisheries biology. As I begin working on my master's, I am confident in the skills and lessons that UAPB has taught me through instructors like Dr. Hawkness.
Sunflower challenged herself with a rigorous course curriculum. Her efforts led to numerous presentations in front of scientific audiences at state and national venues. A National Science Foundation internship gave her the opportunity to go to Alaska and work with scientists examining crustacean physiology. UAPB prepares its students for opportunities like these every day.
UAPB prepared me.
All right, I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay, so who's gonna do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Welcome back to the Elliott Alert. I have, again, my guest is Brother Jihad Muhammad, and he's a community activist in our community of Jefferson County and Pine Bluff. Now, Brother Jihad, when we left on break, you were talking about going into the prisons and talking to some of the gentlemen and the women of the prison, talking to them about, I guess, some of the things that sent them in that direction. And you said a doctor, I'm sorry, who did you say?
Dr. Charles Chastain.
Okay.
Was one of the law professors that took an interest in our work in the prison. And he became a sponsor of a program that we ran at Varna called The Program.
Okay.
Prisoners and ex-prisoners reaching out, gaining respect, admiration, and morality. And he was one of those people who was, deeply involved in making sure that inmates had what they needed to reform themselves while they was in prison, and making the transition, making sure that inmates had what they need to make a smooth transition to the outside. Let
me ask you this. Now, the retention rate is what, 70 something, and I think I'm lowballing it, maybe 77, 78%.
It's high.
Yeah, it's high. So when you talk about those kind of
most people to go back to prison within 3 years of getting out.
Right. So how effective are those kind of programs?
I would say this, that a lot of people don't understand how the prison system works. Right now, if you look at the news, if you read the recent paper that came out, Pamela Commercial, they're talking about jail overcrowding, they're talking about prison overcrowding. You have people who are in the prison system who want drug treatment,
right?
Who want what is offered at pre-release, who want different programs, but they don't have the resources in the prison to service all of those inmates. If I go to prison now and I have a drug problem and I'm using drugs in the prison, it's very difficult for me to get into a treatment program to help me deal with that issue if the parole board has the slots for treatment so far bagged up. So we need people who are conscious, who really have love and concern for inmates, to go in there and give them what they need. Tax dollars free, give them what they need to reform themselves. I take the position, and I'll be willing to debate this with anybody in the state, that the Nation of Islam has the best program in terms of reforming inmates that they might get out of prison and be productive. I'm an example of that. There are other men in this city who are an example of that are not only doing good in terms of themselves and their family, but they're helping the community. So I'm saying the Nation of Islam is at the table. We want to be put in a position to help inmates get their life together, to relieve the citizens of this tax burden. They plan on building a facility now to house so many inmates. Is going to cost $100 million. Then they said it costs another $25 million to run it a year. But I believe that if the ADC would allow the Nation of Islam to help, we could come in and we can work with those inmates, and we could put those inmates in a mindset that will allow them to come out here and do the right thing and be successful.
Well, now let's just say I'm a taxpaying citizen, and let's just say we're already paying for these inmates to be housed, and you're saying that they have a drug issue. Why, as a taxpayer, why would I want to put an infinite amount of money when we're already paying for their housing to rehabilitate inmates? Because they didn't go in there for singing too high in the choir. They went in there because of a crime. So why would I care if they got rehabilitated?
Let me tell you why. There was a man in this city, I won't call his name, but he was under psychotropic medication in the prison. I grew up with him.
Right.
And he got out of prison. There was nobody there to help him. He didn't get the treatment that he needed for his drug problem. He came out, he got on drugs, he killed the lady. Now he's back in prison.
Right.
So his whole prison stay the first time did not help him.
Right.
If you look at when inmates were getting Pell Grants and going to college, it's a proven fact that those who get a college degree while they're in prison are less likely to reoffend, and they, in most cases, go out and become an asset to society.
So
if we don't put money into this, then the guy who gets out of prison and moves next door may rob you, may rape you, may murder you, and then we'll be full of regret.
So it's up to the taxpayers to put the resources back into, again, rehabilitating someone who has already shown that that this is the kind of lifestyle that they want. I mean, how fair is that to the taxpayer?
No, I'm saying some of these people never had a chance. Anytime you grow up and you're born into an environment that's corrupt.
Right.
You come into a family household that is corrupt. That corruption shapes and molds you. Some of these people who are in prison never had a chance.
Well,
and let me say this. Then you have a certain group of people who are in prison who did wrong, and they have did extraordinary work in prison. I witnessed a man stop a guy from being burnt up in prison. Terry Sims, he's doing a life sentence out of Stuttgart. I saw him personally myself stop a guy from taking a peanut butter jar full of gas while the guy was praying and dashing on him, setting him on fire. But you never hear those stories of inmates stopping other inmates from beating up officers. They used to give good time for that. They don't do it no more.
Right. Well, I tell you what, we have to go on break, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about that.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
And then from this angle, it all makes a star.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore. And frustration, a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy, and giving up impossible.
And then we're going to turn the lights and everybody look up.
I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought.
Finally won. What's your reaction? Yeah, exactly.
And unconventional methods
okay, what else?
common.
This is their world.
There's nothing.
And then they die. Go ahead, go, go, go.
I'm a teacher. I make more.
Welcome back to the Elliott Alert. My guest today is Brother Jihad Muhammad from the Nation of Islam, who is a community activist here in Jefferson County, Pine Bluff. Now, Brother Jihad, when we left the last segment, you were telling me how important it is for not just society, but our community, our state, to pour more resources into helping or rehabilitating people who have been in jail. Now, let me ask you this, because the last time I read, they said like maybe 60% of inmates who go into jail are going to be probably released within the community. So is that why it's so important that we put the resources in to rehabilitate people?
Exactly. These people are coming to our community. There's no doubt about that. Those men who have fathered children, I would rather them come out and take on the responsibility of taking care of their children rather than me having to take care of that responsibility. And it's all about giving them a fair chance, as I said before.
Well, now, wait a minute. Here you say, okay, giving them a fair chance. Now, as a taxpaying citizen, I'm saying, okay, what about the crime that you commit? What's the restitution for that? Why should I give you a fighting chance to rehabilitate yourself? And then there be other people or kids who are going to school, other people who hadn't had the chance. Why do we have to do that?
You know, we live in a Geo-Christian society.
Now, say that again. A what?
Geo-Christian society.
Okay. Now, what is a geo-Christian?
You have the basis of our belief system in general in this country.
Right.
Deals come from the Jewish perspective and the Christian perspective, the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament. And now, of course, you have a growing population of Muslims. And all of those scriptures is what? Atonement, forgiveness, redemption. Jesus Christ came to redeem.
Right.
And so he came to redeem people who were sinners.
Right.
And we are trying to follow him, even me as a Muslim trying to follow him. So I have the responsibility of carrying his mission on my shoulder, which is to help those who are still down and out, those who don't know any better. Even when Jesus was being taken to the cross, he told some of those who was with him, they know not what they're doing.
Right.
And so we have a responsibility of not only punishing them, but we need to educate them and reform them. And our leadership, should take a central role in doing that. Whether it's a pastor that's getting paid $900 a week to deliver a sermon on Sunday and maybe visit a few people in the hospital, or whether it's a businessman who is abstracting dollars out of our community for providing a service, or whether it's a politician that give us a big old speech and say, hey, I'm going to solve all these problems, vote for me. It matters not.
Right.
We need to make sure that we put an emphasis on those who are incarcerated. Even Jesus said in the book of Matthew that those who go into the prison and who preach, who minister, which is what? To provide a need for those who are in need. Those will be rewarded. But those who don't do that, he said that there will be weeping and hollering. It would be a great punishment.
And I understand what you're saying, but as a community leader, if I'm a community leader and I say, okay, I understand your message, but my constituent base doesn't see it, why should I move away from what my constituent base says and move towards helping those who have already been incarcerated? Because, see, here's the thing. I can't say, okay, I'm for the community and I haven't participated in the community, and the people know that and elect me. That means they don't want me to do that if they elect me and I haven't done anything in the community.
Let me say something else. I'm not a politician, so this might sound like blasphemy to some people, but the mass majority of the people who go and vote have not did their homework. They're ignorant. And in most cases, they're being misled. If you take a person, and I don't want to get into any names, but we know.
Right.
If you take a man who has manipulated women out of money, who the county judge is going down to the quorum court or to the city council to serve him papers because he's taking women money who ain't got nothing. And the public know that. And they still vote for that man. That means either the public is either ignorant, they don't know it, or either they don't care.
Right.
So the public vote on what we put in front of them.
Right.
We have to do a better job of educating the public. When you go and you talk to people, you ask people, who are your state representative, who's your district justice of the peace, they don't know that. But some of them going down and vote because they see a name that they know, or they heard a good commercial, or this particular person did something for me as an individual.
Right.
So they're going down there and casting a vote based on that, and they really haven't did their homework. I think that we have a greater responsibility to educate people as it relates to politics and how politics work. That's number one.
Right.
You know, democracy means the rule of the people, but when you're ignorant, you can't rule. So you got a lot of people that's making decisions. You ask folks about it. You know, I campaigned for a few people,
right?
And I went out and I talked to people, and some of the problems that's going on in the community were laid at the wrong candidate's door. I mean, some of these people don't know whether the county made the decision, or whether the city made the decision, or whether it's a state decision.
Right.
They are ignorant and they have to be educated. And I think that we have to broaden the arena in terms of our education. We have to teach in the church. We have to teach in the schools. We have to teach in the mosques. We have to teach everywhere. And I've ran into Muslims and Christians who really don't have a concern about the issues and who voting for the issues and what the effects are, but they will go and vote.
Right.
Because so-and-so showed up at my wedding or at a funeral, or this happened or that happened. So I mean, I think that we have to become more conscious of what we're doing, and we have to hold the leadership accountable. There is a way to hold all leadership accountable, whether it's the preacher, whether it's the politician, whether it's the businessman, or whether it's the community activist. We cannot exist without the support of the community.
Right.
And if we're not working in the best interest of the community and our fruit, the fruit of our labor is not being seen, then the community can withdraw their support and then give their support to people who are trying to do something. One of the problems, I say this as I conclude, one of the problems that I see in our community is the people who have the biggest heart, the people who want to do the greatest good, they don't have the resources.
Right.
And you talk about the Shirley Kleins, you talk about the Shirley Sanders, you talk about the Bunny Savages, you talk about the little people who are on the ground helping people every day, that people come to their house and get a bag of groceries. Like for instance, I took 2 families to Shirley Klein's house, and she gave them several boxes of groceries out of her own house. But her resources are limited. We need those people who can't get on the ground.
Right.
Or who don't have the guts to get on the ground. Some people don't want to go around the crack house because they're scared.
Right.
But they got leadership and they got money. Donate your dollars to those who are not afraid.
Right.
Help out some kind of way.
Right. Well, now tell me, we're about to. This is our last segment on this, and I want people to know how they can get in contact with you if they need more information.
They can get in contact with me by calling me at 870-643-7030. And that's my cell phone number. If I don't answer, just leave a message. I guarantee I'll call you back. But what we're trying to do right now is every Sunday, we have a group of African-American men, and hopefully women will be coming on board, that have met to form a group called Closing the Gap. And we're bringing everybody to the table. One of the first initiatives we're dealing with is jobs for young people.
Yes.
Run into a lot of young people, you could talk to them,
right,
and they'll sit in their seats slumped down, but when you get to talking about something that interests them in terms of money, they're able to get those tennis shoes that they need, or that jacket that they need, so they don't have to steal, then their antennas go up.
Right.
And I'm telling you, we've been dealing with young people for the last month on a real intense level, and one of the things they want an honest, legitimate way of making money. They don't want to sell dope,
right,
they don't want to rob folks, they don't want to steal. They want to, as young people, they want an honest, legitimate way of making money. And I think we are obligated in terms of the city,
yes,
the county, and the state of making that happen, because if you say they're too young to work at 13, 14, and 15, then you become a hypocrite. Because when you send them to prison at 14 and 15, you give them a job,
right,
doing hard labor. So let's not be hypocritical, and let not the state ask the private sector to do. I'm quoting a phrase from Bill Walker, our good friend. Don't ask the private sector to do what the state is not willing to do. Right. How can you ask the private sector to employ ex-offenders and you're not willing to get ex-offenders a job? That's being hypocritical.
Okay. Well, I just want to let you know you have just been placed on alert.
Thank you, sir.
All right.